Morning, happy Thursday. So I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning with a conversation in my head after speaking to three lovely ladies this week, and they all kind of intersect with various aspects, but I think the main focus of what I need to talk about is having discernment within the yoga industry. So there are a lot of people that teach all kinds of various different aspects of yoga, and everyone has different reasons for why they teach. For me, my personal approach is that having worked in the healthcare industry internationally in more than one country, and having worked in the education industry in more than one country, as well as having studied yoga and studied or done Tai Chi and done various aspects of learning, having lived in Asia for many years, I have interconnected thinking. And my intention is that I'm trying to bridge Western healthcare, which I have a very good experience of and a very clear understanding of, and Asian philosophy. There is a place for both of these worlds, and if we are able to integrate the two and have an understanding of the two in a balanced and functional way, I believe our personal growth and also our capacity to take responsibility for our own health and our own wellness and essentially be part of your own self-care team, your life is likely to be a lot more content, right? So one aspect of this also is that what I'm noticing in North America is that there's a very strong focus on the marketing of being happy, right? So a lot of things are focused on happiness, and a lot of things are focused on leaving a legacy. So this is kind of one aspect to this as well, is that we need to have the discernment of not getting sucked into very good marketers, right? So the yoga industry definitely has a substantial skill within the marketing industry, and therefore we need to have discernment, and we need to know what is functional, what is beneficial, what is actually valuable, and what's going to help you achieve the things that you need to accomplish in this life, and also what's going to help you be more balanced moving forward, right? So one of the conversations with a lovely young lady was along the lines of the topic that I mentioned a couple of days ago was yoga off the mat. And she was speaking about a relationship and saying, she's been in this relationship for however many years, and yoga off the mat has very much involved this individual. So one thing that it's important to realize that in the yoga industry, a lot of people kind of take strength and they take knowledge from different philosophies, different thought processes, different religions, including myself, right? So I have lived in a very strict Islamic nation for 4 years, so I have a good understanding of the Islamic faith. I have a very good understanding of the Buddhist faith, the Taoist faith, the Hindu faith, and then obviously the Christian faith, having grown up in a Western environment. Christianity is obviously the dominant faith within our Western world. So I'm not necessarily pro any one or other religion. My approach in its entirety at Cellular Life Wellness or Cellular Life Institute is inclusiveness. So inclusiveness includes both men and women, all faiths and all body types, right? So it is fully inclusive. And it is also, my intention is for it to be functional. I'm not supportive of learning things that simply propagate imagination, right? So, for example, I've worked with a really lovely lady a few months ago who was struggling and was clearly not okay. She was in full-blown anorexia and bulimia, but had just completed a yoga teacher training that was focused on learning about goddesses. And she'd completed the training, spent a huge amount of money on this course, but she hadn't learned anything that had any level of substance to actually help her with the personal struggles that she was having, right? So yoga includes being able to take care of your physical body, your emotional self, your mental self, and your spiritual self, right? So if we are unable to function in the material world, then life is going to be very, very, very difficult. So this also comes down to discernment, and it links to the conversation that I had with another woman in this week, because she said to me, you know, I really want to start exploring, and I really want to start learning certain aspects of, you know, different spiritual teachings and yoga, but I don't want to find myself in a cult. Now, her and myself have a very strong connection in that we both work together in the healthcare industry, and we worked with a beautiful co-worker of ours who ended up dying from cancer, because even though she was within the healthcare industry, she was diagnosed with cancer, got herself mixed up with a group of spiritual people, made certain decisions that took her down a path of essentially no return. Now, I'm not saying that her outcome would have been any different if she had used, you know, chemotherapy or allopathic medicine, but what I am saying is that having been in an industry and having made chemotherapy myself and having worked with people that have gone through the chemotherapy process myself, I've seen more success with people when they've integrated both worlds, as opposed to choosing like a very fundamentalist, hardcore path of, I'm only going to do this because my so-called guru has told me that, right? So it's a discernment of knowing this decision has the capacity to literally impact my life, right? And so then this links back to this lady that was this beautiful girl that was dealing with full-blown anorexia. If we're learning a whole bunch of spiritual stuff that's, you know, somewhere up in the clouds here, that's teaching you how to be a spiritual being, but you are essentially, you're not managing your own mental well-being and you're not managing your own emotional well-being, then this spiritual stuff really, in my opinion, it simply has no value, right? We have to be able to function as a contributing member of society and as a contributing member of humanity here with your feet on the ground. If you're unable to do that, then as far as I'm concerned, we're not practicing yoga. It's not functional, and it's not, it really doesn't have any value. And then the third, linking to the conversation with the third woman, which also connects with another lady that I was speaking to, both of them mentioned the word detachment. Now, yes, there is the conversation of detachment, and this is definitely a much larger conversation than like a 10-minute video that I'm going to put out now. But it's important for you to realize, in terms of this concept of detachment and this conversation in the yoga industry, Hindu and Buddhist nations have a totally different culture from the minute they are born, right? So it's not about religion, it's about the culture. There is a difference between religion and culture. These children, or within Asia, these children are raised in families where they are securely attached from the word go. They have a very clear understanding of themselves. They are cultivated. They are raised with very high levels of self-awareness, very high levels of self-regulation, and very high levels of community responsibility from the minute they are born. So their experience of life from the beginning is totally different to a Western approach. So when the Asian philosophy starts speaking of detachment, what our intellectual minds from a Western standpoint try to understand from an intellectual standpoint is totally different to what is actually intended or meant from an Asian perspective, right? So what I'm finding, what I'm definitely seeing a lot of, especially for myself having a very strong foundation and having worked a lot in early childhood education and early childhood development, What I'm seeing a lot in the yoga industry is simply insecurely attached Westerners using the word detachment as a reason for them to just simply not, they're unable to manage healthy relationships. They're unable to actually be within healthy relationships. And instead of taking a look at this, and instead of doing a little bit of work in terms of, you know, looking at what's not working for a healthy relationship, they simply put the label of detachment on it. I practice detachment. This is an insecurely attached relationships is not what detachment is all about from a Buddhist or a Hindu perspective at all. So that's already 11 minutes that I'm at now, and it's just kind of a, you know, it's a few nuggets and a few little, like, it's food for thought really, with the main focus on it being it's really, really important for you to cultivate discernment. If you don't know what I mean by this, feel free to message me, comment below, send me an email, message me on Facebook, Instagram, or via the website. The topic of discernment, and then a little food for thought in terms of simply being insecurely attached, but using the word detachment. It's not the same thing at all. And from a yoga perspective, from a martial arts perspective, and from an Asian philosophy perspective, we are definitely not intending to cultivate insecure attachment. It's not synonymous with detachment. So I've now managed to share all of that was buzzing around my head at 3 o'clock this morning, and I'm now going to go for a run in the beautiful snow. So have a lovely day. Bye.